What's going on, guys? SB here. Let me back the seat up a little bit. Just want to talk to you guys real quick. I want to tell you guys about a fragrance that I don't think I've talked about. I've made reference to, but I don't think I've done an official review on the channel. The reason why I say that is because it's a bottle and I have so many samples that there are over probably 100, 200 bottles in my collection that I haven't currently done a review for, that I've reserved for when I'm done with the samples, but the samples keep rolling in, so that keeps pushing it back. Let's talk about this bad boy. Ramad Oriental from Arabiyat Prestige. Man, talk about a great fragrance. I felt like bringing this up today because I had a couple different thoughts about it. If you This will actually work both ways, whether you were a fan of it or not. If you wanted to be a fan of fragrances like African Leather from Memo Paris, Carlisle from PDM, Leighton from PDM, Oud Zarian from Creed recently, I think that was a 2024 or 2025 release. This is an awesome option for you guys. And it makes me think about one of the great validities for clones being that sometimes when you're messing with a more complicated fragrance, it's too complicated, or the use case is very limited because it's complicated. And this is going after Amouage's Outlands, which in a nutshell to me kind of falls into the slight smoky, sweet incense category. It's an oriental spicy, not that spicy, more oriental, kind of a mysterious, almost like the more incensey Nag Champa take on a Oud for Greatness from Initio. And it does a very, very good job. But similar to what a lot of clones do with a complex scent is that this does very well, is it simplified the DNA. You get the complexity of the kind of sweet, incensey, spicy oriental feel, but it has a freshness to it that, to me, the OG Outlands comes off very rich, very serious, very mature, very circumstantial, whereas this sucker feels a lot more versatile. I know for me, living in Arizona, it's very hard to pull off such a fall and winter centric fragrance unless I have a clone that sometimes lightens up the DNA. And so that's one of the hugest validities to me for clones in the market right now, is sometimes a house or a fragrance is doing too much, and sometimes having the more minimalist take on the DNA is more favorable for versatility and approachability for new fragrance heads. This is great. You can see the atomizer here. Psst, nice low pressure atomizer. Arabiyat Prestige gunning to be probably easily in my top 3 best inspiration houses out there. And the more this macerates or oxidizes and matures and changes, I believe it's for the better in this case. The fragrance seems to just get better and better. But I wasn't the biggest fan of Oud Zarian. Many people felt like it breathed new hope into Creed for making a good scent. I did think it was a very good scent. It didn't gel well for me. It was just doing a little too much. And even with Amouage Outlands, I just felt it was so circumstantial, it doesn't warrant even a 50 ml, more like a travel spray at best. Whereas this, I feel like as long as there's somewhat of a breeze, I can pretty much rock this year round. Probably got this for like 20, 30 bucks. I think on the market, it's more of a mid-tier clone sitting around the $50 to $80 price point for something like this, which I would still pay for this. Not these days, but just in theory, if I didn't have a lot of connections and resources, I just think this is a phenomenal clone fragrance. And Arabiyat Prestige is such a reputable brand. I enjoy it. And I think it's worth the coin for you guys. But again, if you were, so I said, if you wanted to love any of those fragrances that I named, this is a more fresher take. So you get the complexity, but you get this real modern, versatile freshness with this that doesn't take it too far into the fall, winter, or formalish vibes. It's still serious, it's still mysterious, it's still somewhat dark, but it has this crazy amount of lightweightness and freshness that puts it in the light to middleweight category. Now, here's another thing. If you love any of those fragrances, again, the Oud Zarian, the Amouage Outlands, things like that, this is even the Carlisles, the African Leathers, the Laytons, this is a really nice way to have a more versatile option to those fragrances. Because a lot of those fragrances you only benefit from if you live in a cold place. You could wear it a lot. This, you have an approachable version with this that doesn't really compromise the DNAs. I feel like this is like at least 90% accurate. And the deviation is only in the weight and maybe some of the depth of those scents. So you have something more approachable that you can wear a lot more often, or even if you didn't want to drain your bottle and maintain kind of the value of having a fuller bottle, this is a great option. I really think Arabiyat Prestige can't miss right now. I've only had one fragrance that I thought was a complete dud, and it wasn't even a fragrance I wanted per se. I just had a sample of it. And they've been just doing a lot of amazing things. I'm in touch with one of the representatives from one of the major manufacturers based out of the East Coast for Arabiyat. No, I'm not sponsored. No, I'm not endorsed. I just have connections. And so I'm going to be putting you guys on to some of the spotlighted, most enjoyed Arabiyat Prestige fragrances from myself so that you guys can get into this house. Because as far as clones are concerned, these guys go toe-to-toe with Armaf, Lattafa, French Avenue, any of your favorite clone brands. This is awesome. And it's very rare that you get somebody to go after an Amouage house. But again, speaking back to the validity of the clone, when it comes to a house like Amouage, clones might actually be more preferred outside of the collectors and schnob niche heads who thrive off of that depth or that placement in their collection. Clones are very good in this conversation because they would make brands like Amouage a lot more approachable. Yes, I own many of the OGs, and I've gone through almost the entire house of Amouage myself. I personally own 2 or 3 bottles of Amouage, so I'm not speaking as somebody who came clone first into Amouage fragrances. I feel like I have a really well-rounded perspective on this, but yeah, I just think you guys would really enjoy this a lot, especially with the incense dark type of oriental style fragrance. You know, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of Nag Champa incense, a little bit smoky. I think a fresh take on it is really nice. And now you can bomb yourself with this too. Like from first glance in the opening, it feels like 3 or 4 sprays is plenty, but due to the clone nature, you know, double that up to like 7 or 8, and you'll have a really nice, fresh, popping, projective scent that even when I was going into the post office today, 2 or 3 people of all ages, like a group of, you know, look like high school girls, turned as I walked by. 2 women turned around in line as I walked by and looked dead at me. I know it was the fragrance. You know that look that you get sometimes where it's like, you don't even know me. Why are you staring at me that long? Kind of look with this. And it's seductive. It's seductive. It's masculine. It's intoxicating. It checks all the boxes. And it's highly signature worthy of a scent. So definitely get your nose on this. This is Ramad Oriental. Make sure it says Oriental on it because there's a couple different Ramad fragrances from the Arabiyat Prestige. I think Ramad is an actual line. So definitely get the Oriental. And again, this was going after Amouage Outlands. But again, I think if you want to get in the breadth of what Outlands represented, it kind of falls into the family of, you know, Oud Zarian, Oud for greatness type of DNA. But I get hints of Leighton, hints of Carlisle, and hints of African leather in there in the oriental spicy nature of the fragrance. But this is a phenomenal one. Definitely get your nose on it. I don't know if this is a hot take. It's definitely not a full review because we didn't go over the typical, you know, boxes that I like to check in my reviews, but it's just content for you guys. Definitely get your nose on that, and I'll be talking about that fragrance along with many of the Arabiyat Prestige line as the year progresses. I'm going to try to go through as many Arabiyat Prestige fragrances as I can to further validate or invalidate the brand for your, clone concern. Because I do think messing with the clones, it's the wild, wild west out there. And so you guys need a gunslinger like me to go in and confiscate the trash and present to you guys the treasure. So with that being said, like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. Talk to me. I do talk back. And this is SB signing off.